What's the company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Story 1. I don't think it's a bad secret at all, but back in college, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. The store manager must have had an undiagnosed case of OCD or germophobia or something, because every night he would assign someone to do the cleaning duties, mopping floors, double-checking expiration dates, throwing away expired stuff, etc. And every night he would absolutely lose his temper and berate whoever was doing the cleaning. They were going too fast, they weren't cleaning everything, whatever. After that, he'd always take over the cleaning himself. He was amazingly picky about the cleanliness and food quality. Expiration date is 3 days from now. Fuck that, I'll order more. Throw that away, we're not serving it. These were his usual words. He would also go out of pocket to buy special cleaning products because that worthless bullshit that corporate wants us to use doesn't get the job done. One standout moment for me was when he reduced a cashier to tears by hollering, "Would you eat off this floor? No? Then it's not clean enough." He wasn't telling her to eat off the floor, he was just making a point. After we closed the store, he'd kick all of us out, lock up behind us, and stay until something like 2 a.m. cleaning the place. You always knew when he closed because you could smell the chemical scent still lingering in the air. The store, the food, the equipment, and the facilities were always kept in a squeaky clean condition as a result. Customers somehow picked up on what a perfectionist the store manager was and bought from us all the time, because there's a lot of peace of mind that goes in with knowing your food was cooked by someone willing to throw ingredients away before the expiration date, stay in the store until God knows when to clean everything, etc. The true irony was how much the boss hated himself because he didn't think he was doing a good enough job to run a clean restaurant with fresh ingredients. It didn't matter how many compliments he got from customers or how many service industry veterans said they never worked in a place as obsessive about freshness and cleanliness as his Papa John's store. He was convinced his store was still a filthy barn. Eventually, he got promoted to some kind of higher level corporate position, I think it's called district manager, that required him to visit other stores and make sure they were all up to spec. The end result of that was a lot of stores in this area all improved seemingly overnight. Well, that sounds nice and all, but in my humble opinion, cleaning supplies are terrible for your health. And if he was using some military grade cleaning products, I can only imagine how much worse it is for his health. I mean, of course I use cleaning products too, but there's a limit to how much I'll actually use. The customers might have appreciated seeing the end result of his obsessive labor, but this manager definitely sounds like a germaphobe. Story 2. I worked at Olive Garden in the mid-90s while I was back in college. Back then they had the all-you-can-eat soup, salad, and breadsticks lunch special for like $4.25 plus tax. Working the lunch shift, you would get probably 2 or 3 tables, and there was a 99% chance that all of your tables were 2 ladies getting this lunch special with water during their lunch break. After about a year, several of our best servers were mysteriously fired. It turns out they were running a scam where they used the same receipt over and over again when these ladies paid for their meal with cash. Since we could get those 3 items ourselves from the back without ringing them into the system, these servers were just pocketing the cash for the entire meal. So instead of making $5 to $8 in tips during a lunch shift like the rest of us dumb schmucks, they would make an extra $20 or so by stealing from the company. I think that servers might still do this to this day. I've seen it with coupons instead. So say a table comes in and pays with cash, the server can take a coupon and then add it so they get the difference, $3 or $4 off. To solve this, management usually starts going around and signing them. Story 3. I'll say it no matter how hard it might be for myself or if someone misunderstands me. Namely, a place similar in name to Fast Face Urgent Care, at least in the region I worked at, banned their front desk from informing customers that they have a credit balance to use towards their service and still required us to charge customers the full price on top of what we already owed them. Some accounts had like $500 of copay that should have been refunded but weren't. I was actually reprimanded for applying the credit balance because, despite finance agreeing, my method was correct. The regional manager said it was not a good look for the company and hindered her profits. It's something very typical for people in these sorts of positions, I might assume. Well, I suppose you could pay a copay to the doctor's office, and insurance pays the rest. I think that's how it works nowadays. Sometimes insurance covers the whole bill and doesn't need the copay. It should be the case that the office just keeps the money people pay on top of the full payment, instead of giving your money back. So let's say your copay was $50 and the visit cost total was $150. Instead of getting paid a total of $150, the office got paid $200 for $150 of work, which is stealing. Story 4. I used to work as a receptionist in an upscale salon. While I was there, the salon introduced a new line of products marketed towards men. Up until that point, most of our products were marketed towards women, but the execs saw that we were getting more male customers. Every item in the men's product line was about half the cost of our other products. The men's shampoo was the exact same shampoo the salon had been selling for years, but because they put it in black packaging with the word man on it, it was half the price. The owner's explanation was that men don't want to pay that much for hair products. For the rest of the time I worked there, every time a woman came to buy that shampoo, I'd tell her that the men's shampoo was the exact same product for half the price. Story 5. My experience comes from the vehicle modification shop at Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio, which dumps waste coolant from the machine shop into a storm drain that empties directly into the Scioto River. It happens because the chemical disposal tank is a 55-gallon drum in the paint shop, and that's really small. They can't throw me into solitary confinement for complaining anymore. Edit. This happens about once a year when the machine's coolant reservoirs are emptied and the coolant is replaced. It's not on a schedule, it's one of those things that you do when work is slow. Each machine holds 15 to 20 gallons, and usually you just add more as it evaporates, but eventually it gets nasty and needs replaced. It's supposed to go in a waste tote to be disposed of safely, which is what every non-government machine shop does. Being able to prove this is being done would require knowing when they're going to do this, and that's a decision often made spur of the moment. Hey, work is slow, let's have a cleanup day. There aren't any phones in the machine shop either. Story 6. I had a friend who worked for a bridal dress company. She would tell me all her stories after work. They intentionally will bring back the wrong dress in an attempt to get you to try it on, fall in love, and buy a more expensive piece. They'll walk you through the more expensive sections so you look through dresses out of your budget and want to try them on. They often forget to check if the dress you requested is in stock for the time frame you've requested, again so that you'll have to pay more for faster shipping or a nicer dress. It's a very predatory business, masked by compliments, thinly veiled body shaming, and incredibly underpaid and understaffed stores. Yeah, everything marriage and wedding related is a straight scam. That industry has been scamming for years. One giant overpriced party in which there's only one true winner, the bride. At least that's what I'm thinking, and I can guarantee that many of you would share the same opinion. Story 7. I was a prison guard a decade ago, and we installed some facial tracking software in the surveillance cameras. One of the inmates panicked while cleaning the unused solitary confinement cells, which is usually a desirable job as it's easy as fuck and nobody pays attention to you, and he insisted that he be moved out of that job because there was a ghost. The ranking officers decided to check the new cameras, and the security software claimed it saw a face behind the inmate at the same time he was visibly startled in the camera footage. We're all aware there are mundane reasons why a new facial recognition system would think it saw a ghost, but since the inmate and the security software both thought there was a ghost, it was decided that the inmate should be immediately transferred at no penalty. Story 8. Inbound call center. There is no such thing as a silent hold. We could still hear you, but this isn't done maliciously so we can listen in. We had targets for hold time, and putting you on mute instead used zero hold on that call and brought the average down. Sometimes we were asking a colleague for input, sometimes we were avoiding an awkward silence while the computer took forever to load. Personally, I did it a lot because I can fix your issue/account easier when you're not yapping in my ear with stupid questions. And also, I might want to call the last person you spoke to some very bad words for messing it up or bullshit you in the first place. Story 9. I worked for a restoration company in the past. One time, an elderly woman called them to clean her house. I can't remember if she was a hoarder or if there had been a fire. Anyway, the company charged $57,000 for the work to be done. But in reality, they couldn't even get the charges to add up to $20,000. She couldn't file this on her insurance. There are other examples of gross overcharging, but this is the worst I know of that wasn't on the large loss side. The lesson here is if you have water, fire, mold, or hoarder damage and call in a company to clean it up, go through every line item on the invoice, but make sure to check every single one to avoid unnecessary complications. Story 10. I worked at Petco in Alaska, and apparently brown and black mice are not allowed up here. White is the only one available at the spot. We got a shipment of a bunch of black and brown mice and had to take them to the vet to be killed Also, the animals are literally shipped in on a UPS truck and delivered in packages. I would open a package and it would be full of fish or mice or snakes. You never knew what was coming. It was wild. Luckily, my shift manager was a really good person. She tried her best to help any sick animal and was super diligent about keeping the cages really clean. In addition, she would stay after hours to care for the sick animal in the back and double down on cleaning. When upper management came, they didn't give a shit how to clean anything. They would yell at us to get more customers to sign up for pet rewards. If I didn't pester every single person checking out, they would get angry and give me point deductions. I have no idea what the deductions even did. One of the upper managers watched me for like 3 hours when I was at the register. He said I wasn't pushy enough about getting people to donate or sign up for shit. I will ask once, and if they say no, I am not asking again. He also got mad at me when I didn't clean the bird cage fast enough. It took time away from the register. Also, don't buy fish from Petco, since pretty much every shipment that they came in, they were all infected with ICK. Basically, half of our tanks were in quarantine. We had several customers come back saying we eliminated their entire fish tank because of a fish we sold them. I think that most fish have ICK all the time. It only manifests as a problem when they experience prolonged stress. Shipping and handling practices for chain pet stores are awful and super stressful. Good local pet stores will quarantine everything that comes in prior to sale. As a longtime aquarist, I wouldn't suggest buying livestock from a chain, and if I do, I will quarantine and treat them for a couple of weeks at minimum. Story 11. This isn't a company secret, but I will tell it anyways. I worked part-time at a Domino's franchise in college. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save a business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. Cheese is called white gold in the pizza industry, even back in 2002. But after working for him for a while, I could realize why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses in the form of money orders made out to his employees from his own personal savings account to the college students working for him. The checks/money orders contained the memo line, "Keep learning." The amount of money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. After I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants of the Farmer School of Business at Miami University. But I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores, when I worked there, had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin Covington. The owner from Vevey, Indiana, died in 2017. That dude knew how to do business and do it right. Story 12. All new clothing and everything you try on is dirty. I've worked in retail for years, and it still shocks people, but there's no washing machine or disinfectant spray or wipes. Nothing. I've opened boxes of new clothes that had white bugs coming out of them. Seen women after a workout class come and try clothes on, then just leave still sweaty from the class. One older lady left dime-sized skin flakes in the clothes she tried on, not to mention whatever happens when they return the item or what happened in the factory. People are gross. Nothing is clean, so always wash your clothes when you get them home. Story 13. The stain protector is only useful if you actually file a claim, since it isn't a magic potion. Most furniture companies sell some sort of stain protector as an add-on. People buy it thinking it has some magic ability to prevent stains over the life of a piece of upholstery. Then 5 years later, spill some Kool-Aid on that shit and the stain doesn't come out. With most of these protectors, there's a warranty claim process that will get you a new sofa, or a new set if your sofa pattern isn't made anymore, but nobody ever files a claim. That's the gimmick. The company is counting on you not actually holding them to the deal that they made you, and virtually nobody does. Yeah, I'm also fairly certain that many times the fabric is treated at the factory regardless of whether you pay for it or not. People can bump into situations where they add a section to a sofa after the original sale, have to replace another one, etc. Sometimes they can pick a couple up themselves at the store, and there might be indications that the items are already treated. I suppose it's cheaper to treat them all and try to sell what's basically insurance than have to treat just one if the customer buys it. Story 14. I worked in insurance, billing at night as a side job while still going to school as a physician. I had the hard job of fighting insurance for things like a 4-ounce bottle of betadine, 5% for $300, that that your insurance doesn't want to pay for, or life-saving services that keep people alive, like transplants, cardiac surgeries, etc. Sometimes I would be fighting for months on these things, and they would exhaust me, and it would get so personal. I looked at their chart, their story, their history and visits, and over the years, I have written off or just erased several millions of dollars in medical bills just because I didn't have the heart to let it fall back on people. Tiny 3-day-old babies who needed new hearts, a grandma who was only 50 and needed a new kidney, papa who needed a new liver and new medical treatment for his condition, and twin baby girls who needed surgery while mom was pregnant to save them both, a husband who needed brain surgery, his wife was pregnant, a firefighter needing cancer treatment. I just paid for it all. All they received was a statement in the mail that things have been covered and medication and services are taken care of, like no balance was owed to the hospital, etc. But it was me. I just wrote it off. We used donations and funding, and certain surgeries had special services two could connect into. Everything got paid. It just never fell back on the patient. I never met a single one of them. I just hope it helped. Reply 1. As someone whose wife is going through stage 4 cancer at 36 and became a single income family overnight because she is too sick to work, I promise you helped. I live with the fear that my wife will die, the fear that we'll be bankrupt and financially ruined before she does, and the shame and guilt of even caring about the second one. You removed that from someone and made a hard time easier. Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.